Well, hello to another episode, the 350th episode of the Middle Country Public Library podcast.
Whoa.
Welcome to Spooktober here at the show. I'm Sal DiVincenzo, joined as usual by my spooky friends, Sarah Fade
Hi.
and Nicole Rambo.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
We are counting down to Halloween, and I think it's going to be the first time in a while, or the first time ever, that we will have a episode premiering on Halloween.
Wow.
So we will promise to do something special, which we've made those promises before.
You promised to do that. Sarah and I have kept our mouths shut.
Whether or not we get to that, and it actually happens, is going to be another thing. But yeah, so join us next week. And if you are going to join us, you should know when that goes up. So you should hit the like button if you like this week's episode, because that really does help us. Mm-hmm. And hit subscribe and the notification bell, so when it goes up, you'll know. All right? So every year around this time, my fabulous colleagues will read some spooky stories. So we decided, why don't we just do that again?
It's not broke.
Yes, so we're going to, Sarah and Nicole have chosen some stories. If you are watching, Sarah chose multiple stories, and she has a good idea. She will read every single one of them until you subscribe. If you subscribe, she'll stop, and then, so she's going to pick some of that, and Nicole has one, and maybe in post-production we'll do some things, again, no promises, to make it sound a little better for you whilst you listen to the show this week. So who would like to go first? Yes, why don't you go first, Nicole, because I know what you're going to do. Yes.
Picked a story that I thought would lend itself to some, ambiance.
There you go. So she's putting the pressure on, is what she's doing. There's pressure here.
Because there were other ones, and it was also the shortest one I could find. In the past, I've done the scary stories to tell in the dark, and more scary stories to tell in the dark, and stuff like that. And those are, for also all ages. But this year I picked ones that are middle grade, in our middle grade section. Okay. So the middle grade books, and there's a lot that are like that. And
very nice.
So a lot of them are in the science fiction and fantasy genre, and then within that, on the spines, you'll see they have horror on them. So all of our spooky books are also labeled horror. So,
appropriate horror for the appropriate age.
Right. All yes. Right. Okay. And I think this one has a good lesson.
Oh.
Does it?
Be nice.
Does it? Oh, yes. That is a good lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is from the book The Puppet's Payback and Other Chilling Tales by Mary Downing Hahn. And this particular story is called The 13th Pigeon.
The 13th Pigeon.
Scary.
It was
starring Antonio Banderas.
It was raining when I woke up. Dull, gray, almost frozen rain hitting the windows like pebbles. Too dreary to get out of bed, too dreary to get dressed, too dreary to go to school. I pulled the covers over my head and tried to go back to sleep. I had a good reason for wanting to stay home, and the weather had nothing to do with it. Today was the day Walter Crumgold had promised to pound me flat for laughing at a dumb mistake he'd made in math. Could I help it if he was a moron and I was a genius? No. But sadly, even a genius can make a mistake and laugh when he shouldn't. Mom yelled from downstairs, "Richard, what are you doing up there?" I felt like saying I was preparing to die, but Mom wouldn't have believed me. I couldn't even tell her about Walter's plans for me. For one thing, she thought Walter was a sweet boy who would never hurt anyone. For another, she'd say I'd brought it on myself, as usual. Unfortunately, that was true. I had a knack for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person, but should I be killed for it? So I pulled on my clothes, ate my soggy cereal and toast, grabbed my book bag and jacket, and trudged down the sidewalk in the cold rain. At the bottom of the hill, I saw the kids waiting for the bus. Walter was in the middle of them, laughing and pounding his right fist into his palm of the left hand, showing what he meant to do to me, I guessed. Nobody would come to my defense for one thing. I didn't have many friends, and even if I did, who would risk making Walter mad? In fact, I had a feeling they were all looking forward to watching Walter at work. Nothing like a good fight to start the day. At that moment, the school bus pulled up to the stop. Just as I was about to run down the hill to catch it, I realized that nobody had noticed me. Not Walter, not my so-called classmates, not the bus driver. If I didn't get on that bus, Walter couldn't beat me up. Better yet, if I didn't go to school, I wouldn't have to make up a lame excuse for not handing in the 10-page social studies report that I hadn't even started. So I stepped behind a tree and watched the bus leave. I thought I saw Walter's disappointed face peering out the back window, as if he hoped to see me running down the street shouting, "Wait for me!" When the bus turned the corner and disappeared from sight, I looked back at my nice, warm, dry house. If only Mom had a job, the house would be empty and I could hole up and play video games all day. But no, Mom was a stay-at-home mother with no plans to go anywhere. I looked at my watch. The library would open in 2 hours. Good place to go. I just have to hang out somewhere until then. The drugstore, I guessed. It was just across the street from the library. Walking along the road was too risky. A teacher or neighbor might drive by and see me, so I decided to take the long way through the park. Nobody would be there on a day like this. Sloshing through puddles, I took a side path leading through dripping trees. Soon I was soaked and shivering and even more miserable. Just as I thought, the park was deserted. No mothers pushing baby strollers, no kids zooming it by on inline skates, no skateboards whooping it up by the fountain, no bicyclists shouting, "On your left!" before zipping past on their racers. Just me and the rain and the squirrels starting from tree to tree. Then I saw her. A strange old woman sitting on a bench, tossing birdseed to a dozen or so pigeons at her feet. A bag lady, I guessed, dressed in ragged clothes faded to a mossy gray. Homeless, probably. Maybe even crazy. She was just as wet as I was. You'd think she might worry about catching pneumonia or something, but no, she just sat there scattering seed for those stupid pigeons. Useless birds. Dirty, clumsy, greedy. Rats with feathers, my father called them. Disease spreaders, my mother said, crawling with lice. Suddenly, I got the bright idea to throw stones at the pigeons. Not to hurt them, of course, just to scare them. The old woman hadn't seen me. She wouldn't know what was going on. Quietly, I bent down and picked up a handful of pebbles. The first pebble I threw hit an especially ugly pigeon. It let out a squawk and waddled under a bush. The old woman looked up, her eyes fierce. "Who threw that?" she cried. I stayed behind my tree and tried not to laugh. As soon as the old woman returned her attention to the pigeons, I threw another pebble. Squawk, squawk. The dumb birds scattered, some flying up into trees, some diving under bushes. It was really hard not to laugh now. Again, the old woman looked around and scowled. "Throw one more stone, and whoever you are, I guarantee you'll be sorry." If I'd had any sense, I would have sneaked off to a drugstore right there and then and got myself a hot chocolate, but I couldn't resist throwing another pebble. At her this time, since the pigeons were out of reach. The pebble was no bigger than the tip of my little finger. It landed in her lap. I doubt she even felt the pebble, but she leaped to her feet as if she'd been shot. "I warned you, boys," she cried. "I told you not to throw another one. Now come out from behind the tree." I turned to run, but instead of going where I meant to, I found myself walking toward the old woman, very slowly, dragging my feet. I stopped in front of her, much closer than I wanted to be. She seized my arm with a cold, scrawny hand, chilling me to the bone. Setting my face with red-rimmed eyes deep set in her skull, she said, "How dare you throw stones at me and my helpless dear ones?" "I'm sorry," I muttered, eager to be gone, to have my hot chocolate, to head for the library and cruise the internet. "I was just teasing you." "Teasing," she echoed. "Just teasing. They all say that." She widened her mouth into a grin that revealed big yellow teeth crowded together in a crooked line. "Suppose I was to tease you, boy." I said I was sorry. I tried to pull away from her, but she tightened her grip on my arm. "Let me go. You're hurting me." "But I'm just teasing you," she said, baring her hideous teeth again. "Please," I whispered. "My mother is coming to meet me. She should be here any minute." "Oh, I doubt that," the old woman said. "She thinks you're in school, don't she?" "No, I had a dental appointment," and she shook me angrily. "I hate liars." "I'm not." She shook me again, harder this time. Around my feet, the pigeons cooed and pecked at the seed and ruffled their feathers. The one I'd hit with the stone jabbed my shoe with his sharp beak. The old woman smiled at the pigeons. "This boy don't know who I am, does he?" Several pigeons puffed up their chests and shuddered towards me. Heads bobbing viciously, they joined the first pigeon and pecked my feet. Others cooed and milled around me. I was scared now. The pigeons seemed smarter and meaner than I suspected. The old woman went on talking to the pigeons. "I doubt he's ever met a witch," she said. "In fact, I bet he don't even believe in witches." The pigeons made a sound like laughter and crowded around my ankles, trapping me. My heart thumped against my ribs. "You're crazy," I shouted. "Let me go." The old woman grinned at the pigeons. "Should we let him go? Or should we keep him?" "Help!" I shouted. "Help! Help!" "Go ahead, boy. Shout all you want," the old woman said. "Nobody comes to the park on days like this except witches and bad boys." "You're not a witch," I shouted at her. "You're just a crazy old lady. Let me go or else." "Or else?" The old woman laughed. "Or else what?" "I'll tell my mother about you. I'll tell my father. I'll tell the police." The old woman nudged the pigeon gently with her pointy-toed shoes. "Me and my little friends have heard that before, ain't we, boys?" The pigeons drew closer and cooed. They were laughing. They weren't laughing now. No, they sounded lost and sad and forlorn. The old woman raised her head and smiled at me. All her yellow teeth gleamed. "I had 13 pigeons yesterday," she told me softly, "but I ate one for supper last night. Now I need to replace him." A ripping, piercing pain shot through my body like lightning, fierce and keen. I felt myself shrinking, condensing, changing shape. Where my arms had been, I saw wings. Where my shoes had been, I saw ugly pink feet. My nose grew sharp and hard. Feathers burst through my skin. "I reckon you believe me now," the old witch said. Gathering her bag, she got to her feet. "Come along now, dears." The other pigeons pressed in around me, their beady eyes probing mine. I had no choice but to go along with them, my head bobbing, my pink toes splayed on wet sidewalk, cooing mournfully. Be nice to old ladies.
Or you'll turn into a pigeon.
Or you'll turn to a pigeon.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Spooky, spooky, spooky.
Spooky, yes. What, is he dinner tonight? We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. If he's a
Pigeon casserole.
plump one.
Yes.
Maybe. But good. I didn't like him.
No, he wasn't very nice.
No, he
Not
wasn't
very
nice. Walter probably deserved to beat him up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Could he help him? He was a genius.
How dare? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Cocky kid.
Yeah, that's what you get.
I tell you. Now you become a pigeon.
Yep.
It's kind of like an allegory. The mafia, stool
Mafia?
pigeon.
What?
Yeah, like from those movies. He's a stool pigeon. See, he No.
Nope.
No.
All right, forget it.
Sorry.
All right, very good,
Yeah,
Nicole.
so make it spooky. Do like
Yeah, it'll be spooky. Don't worry about it.
it was easier when it was just voice. You have to stare at me. Put something over me.
Oh, I will. I'll
Okay.
put a pigeon. A pigeon.
Make me a pigeon reading
There
it.
you go. You'll be a pigeon reading it. We'll put it on right now. There you are, as a pigeon. Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Nicole.
Yep. Sarah.
Sarah, which
Yes.
one of these 8,000 books are going to
Okay,
read
it's
today?
only $5, and
Yes.
they're all short stories because
Okay.
that's what we're doing.
Uh-huh.
So I just wanted to bring up. So we have Other Terras, it's an inclusive anthology of horror stories.
Okay.
Okay. Then we have Shadow Show, all new stories in celebration of Ray Bradbury.
Oh.
And so some of it's spooky, even though it's like sci-fi, not really horror. But some of the authors are Margaret Atwood, Dave Eggers, Neil Gaiman, Joe Hill. So there's a lot of famous authors.
big time. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Then we have The Dark Descent. I'm sure I've probably brought this up before, but Clive Barker, Ray Bradbury, Shirley Jackson. So they have old and new
Okay.
short
Very
stories in
nice.
here. Then we have The Best Horror of the Year, Volume 14. We have other volumes downstairs.
Oh, wow.
This
That's
is one
good.
to read from.
Wow, that's excellent.
Yeah, mine is a little bit shorter than yours. And then we have Nightmares, a new decade of modern horror.
That cover is very creepy.
Yeah, it's Garth Nix, Gene Wolfe,
Let's see the cover. Show the
and
cover.
others.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, so the story that I'm going to read is called Anne Gare's Rare and Import Video Catalog, October 2022.
That's very descriptive.
It is. It's by Jonathan Robb.
Okay.
Okay, so Elephant Subjected to the Predations of a Mentalist. Director B.S. Stockton, 1921.
You lost me already. I'm done.
That's in quotes. That's the name of the. A harrowing 47 seconds of early black and white motion photography. This film appears at first to be oh my God.
So you need to read middle grade books because it's really easy to read.
I cannot pronounce this, and I know the word,
Derivative?
but it's not derivative. It's
Wow.
that's not the right.
Derivation.
But that I don't think that's a real word.
That is probably a real
Okay,
word.
a harrowing 47 seconds of early black and white motion photography. This film appears at first to be a derivation of the popular 1903 silent film short Electrocuting an Elephant, but is in fact something far more grotesque. A simulacrum of a large gray elephant stands at center frame against the backdrop of a labyrinth concrete industrial complex. Upon closer inspection, the creature is revealed to be an undetermined number of men, women, and children trapped inside a large costume of gray painted fabric and bound together with lines of rope, patchwork thread, and cloth billowing in the wind or pressed outwards by hands seeking escape.
Oh, that's spooky.
Okay,
That's
so
spooky.
painting a
Creepy.
picture.
Yes, picture painted.
Yes, okay. So, suspense builds as I... Each leg of the human body assembled beast is composed of 2 or 3 tall, muscular men lashed together by pig iron chains to support the weight of the creature's bulbous body. The elephant's trunk is likewise a person wrapped in chain and dirty textile, but rail thin and malnourished, face twisted into a painful grimace of the rictus grin of recent death.
Oh my goodness.
The elephant's head is a globe of cloth and floppy fabric, ears that bubble and pulse with the struggle of those within. Its painted-on eyes smile are white and stupid, comical in their cartoonish proportions. Just as the viewer's mind begins to accept the horrific contours of the elephant's construction and its nauseating implications, a black-clad figure enters from the right, movements blurred by missing frames and the degradation of the film stock. The figure raises a cloven-hoofed hand,
Oh my goodness.
points at the writhing mass of human suffering trapped beneath fabric and chain, and, well, we don't dare spoil it for you. Agfa nitrate base film stock, acceptable condition, $2,300.
Ew.
Wait, that's not it. Old Will's birthday bash and dither family reunion. Director Farias, 1952. So these are titles of the videos.
Yes, videos. Yeah.
A collection of disjointed, stuttering, handheld shots taken over the course of one afternoon and evening at a birthday party. The image is fuzzy and green, as if the lens were coated with a translucent slime. The film depicts dozens of malformed, asymmetrical faces over the course of its 9-minute runtime, all wearing pained, forced smiles. There are shots of a picnic table, home to open, steaming dishes of discolored, rotting lumps of meat, and overcooked vegetables congealing to mush, a dog hanged by its neck on a leafless tree, its paws still twitching, an interior countertop, home to row upon row of bottles of dark and anxious liquors, children fleeing into a cornfield of tall, leering stalks and rows that run at angles contrary to all sane and sanitary principles of distance, horizon, and perspective, and a birthday cake. Its surface full to the limit of burning candles, brought forward through a line of naked, pale bodies whose mouths twist and lips slap in mockery of song. At its terminus, the cake reaches an amorphous, fleshy impossibility. All mouths and eyes and chipped teeth and bowels roiling beneath the surface of its repugnant, stained skin. Dare to look upon old Will in the depths of his cups at the nadir of his descent within the apotheosis of his transcendent debasement. Dare 16 millimeter film strip on reel and in case acceptable plus $212.
So what Sarah just read,
A steal.
what Sarah just read is what happens when you type in AI birthday party.
Yeah, really.
It's a nightmare.
So that was like a 2-page little short story to really set the picture
Yes.
of horrible things that are out there, called The Best Horror of the Year.
Interesting.
That was real adult horror.
Real
Stick
adult
to middle
horror.
grade.
Yeah.
Little
Yes.
boys turning into pigeons. That's good. As far as I go.
I actually have a little something to wrap the show up, a little story to tell. It's a horror story.
Okay.
It's a nightmarish horror story. I am about to tell you all listening today what the mortgage rate will be tomorrow. 7.8%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah, for that lovely and disturbing description of a birthday party and
a human
elephant, which is going to be challenging to visualize and to bring it to the visual for those of you
My
listening.
kid
and
loves
watching.
elephants, and like that's his new like thing. And like whenever you go elephant, he's like,
Aww.
and now it's ruined.
Now just picture bunches of humans inside that elephant trunk.
Yeah,
Yes.
being like,
Has been ruined forever.
Well, I mean, it is the best horror.
is the
Those
best horror.
images will
it's
stay with
true.
you.
Yeah, no, he did a good job.
Yes. And now is the perfect time to visit our website, mcplibrary.org. Click on the catalog if you have a library card with us, and search for something spooky, something haunted, something horror for the next 2 weeks as we wrap up Spooktober and Spooky Time. And that's when they flip the switch. So next Friday, on November 1st. They literally flip the switch and all the skeletons go down and Mariah Carey in a Santa costume comes up. It's just, we go into that ridiculous mode where the holidays begin.
There's also Trunk or Treat this Saturday, the 26th, here in Center H in the parking lot.
Very nice.
11 to 1.
Very cool. That's a fun time.
Yeah, it's our second one. Last year was very successful. So
great.
Yeah, so it's in the parking lot. Everyone, a lot of some librarians, some like outside like agencies and groups that we work with will all have their trunks open, decorated, and handing out candy and little things. And you get to vote on your favorite trunk.
Nice. And everybody's vetted, by the way. We just don't let anybody in here and open their trunk up.
Someone thought that. I think one of the teens. They're like, so there's just people with trunks, and I'm like, well, no.
They just have cars.
That's a real horror story.
Yeah.
The MCPL 2024 horror story. Trunk or treat.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us for this week's 350th episode of the Middle Country Public Library podcast. If you want to listen to older episodes, read our show notes, see all that wonderful stuff, visit our website, mcplpodcast.com. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd highly, highly recommend you hit the like button. Yes, because you liked what you saw here today, didn't you? And what you heard. And hit subscribe. So this way you'll be rewarded with more wonderful things here on the show. So again, thank you for Sarah Fade and Nicole Rambo. I'm Sal DiVincenzo. See you next time.